Hey, good evening, everyone. Good evening. How are you? It's Monday. Oh boy, is it Monday. It is Monday. I got a new little rig set up here so things look a little different. Uh, it is Monday, February 10, 2020. How are you? Um, lots been going on. A lot has been going on everywhere, not just in sports and business and the world and health. Um, Man, personal life, professional life, just a lot of stuff's going on, and that's a good thing. Got to keep moving, got to keep changing. And while we're moving and while we're changing, we also have to be cognizant and be aware of those red flags. And those red flags, I'm not kidding. It's funny. So, when was it? Saturday. We get Saturday mail here. I don't know if they still do it in your neck of the woods, but we get Saturday mail. And Saturday morning, I was taking a shower, and I was thinking, I have not been called for jury duty. And guess what came in the mail? That's right. Summons for jury duty. So I've got jury duty here coming up pretty soon. So that was, you got to listen to your gut. Sometimes you just have to listen to your gut. It's going to take you in the right direction. And it's a red flag. Call it a red flag. Call it intuition. Call it premonition. Whatever you want to call it. I don't really care what you call it, so long as you listen to it. So long as you're deep down inside, you listen to your gut. Very seldom does it steer you wrong. And sometimes, others are not going to like it, but you know what? It's not for them. It's for you. You've got to take care of yourself. You have got to deal with those red flags as they come, as they happen. Because if you don't deal with them, they're going to get the better of you. And you're going to say, man, I should have listened to myself. And it happens. It happens. And, again, if people can't respect that, they can't respect you, then you know what? To hell with them. To hell with them. Because again, you've got to look out for you. Because again, if you have responsibilities and you are expected to be in a certain place, to behave in a certain manner, to do certain things because you've put yourself there, then what good are you going to be to anyone else that you're responsible for if you don't take care of yourself first? Oh, but always put your family. I get that. Put your family first. I understand that. Country first, religion first, whatever you want to do. I don't really care. But understand that deep down at the end of the day, it's about you and what you believe in and what you want to do and accomplish in your life. And if sometimes those red flags just keep popping up and those red flags are there, guess what? You need to listen to them. They're there for a reason. So listen to those red flags. So that being said, this weekend, it was also the inaugural weekend. Super Bowl was over now, but it was the inaugural weekend of the XFL, the Extreme Football League. I think that's what they still call it. That's what they called it the first go around. So I don't know if they're calling it this time. But did it move as fast? It moved a little faster. Was it better than NFL? No. It's not better than the NFL, than the National Football League. And why? Because it's part of who we are. It's so ingrained in us that anything that comes along, well, we're just going to be skeptical of it. And I didn't even introduce it. That's what we're talking about. That's what we talk about on Mondays is sports and leadership, XFL and change and red flags. So we talked about the red flags. Now we're talking about the change in the XFL. The XFL brought something new. It promised to be a faster moving game, a more dynamic game, more fluid game. And obviously it really is hyping itself on being able to keep the flow going while still playing football. The scoring thing, it took a little bit, but I caught on as to how they're doing their scoring, and it's pretty neat. I like it. Not something the NFL should carry over. Again, because we've had the NFL for so long. So what does this say? Well, it talks about change. It shows us that, hey, sometimes change, those red flags, is inevitable. Sometimes change in, say, the XFL is tolerable and expected, anticipated, but is it really truly here to stay? Change never is. Only changes, but what change brings never is, because there's always more change down the line. But I do hope the XFL sticks around because it is nice to see a little football. We've been, when we typically didn't have football, now we're going to see this, and hopefully the league grows a little bit before eventually it fails. But if it doesn't fail, well, kudos to Vince McMahon and everybody else that's doing it. But it's all about change and all about how well people are going to accept the change. I want to say it was 3.3 million viewers saw XFL this weekend. I consider myself one of them. I didn't see it for the entire all four games because there's only 8 teams, but I did see enough to say I made my opinion, and I can say, you know what, I'm gonna watch it again next week and the week after, and I'm gonna give it a fair shot. I mean, it took a while, but that's what I did with the Houston Texans when they first formed up, and it's like, you know what, I'm gonna give this team a shot. And look at that, on the verge of Super Bowl. So be on the lookout for that to happen real soon. Maybe not next year, because I'm still thinking the Chiefs are going to give it one more go around before things start to fall apart, as they usually do. But that's that. So anyway, change is inevitable. Sometimes change is expected. Sometimes change is welcome. Sometimes change is just tolerated. Sometimes change is hated. It's not tolerated. It's intolerable. It's not good. And sometimes we're going to fight change every step of the way. But you know, the one thing we cannot do with change is cram it down somebody's throat. You cannot cram it down somebody's throat. You can't say you're going to do this because I'm me and it's expected of you to respect me. It's expected of you to deliver on my whims. It's expected of you. And it doesn't work that way. So change there has to be a buy-in to that change. And when there isn't a buy-in, that's typically the red flags start coming up. When there is no buy-in, is because someone's trying to cram that change down your throat. When there is no buy-in, it's because, well, maybe somebody's thinking or their perception of the situation or the individuals involved on the other side of this process are a certain way or continue to be a certain way. And people grow, people change, people have to grow up, people have to let go of it. And if people want to succeed, people have to change. It's just that simple. You can't cram it. Can't be passive aggressive. There's no need for passive aggressiveness. You know, sometimes the best thing to do is just to turn off the switch. And sometimes, yes, sometimes it's okay to say, you know what, enough's enough. And like I said, sometimes you just turn off that switch and be done with it, because you don't have to buy into that if that's not where you're going. If those red flags are calling out to you, if the change doesn't seem right, if there's just a little too much cramming down your throat and throwing it in your face, then maybe it's not the right time, and it probably never will after that. So with XFL, I like how they're taking this posture of not cramming it down our throats, of not shoving it in our faces. I remember the first go around, I mean, they were being blatant about it, and they were going to allow fights to happen, and it was going to be kind of a hockey meets football meets lacrosse meets rugby meets, and you know, it just, that didn't work out. But now they're taking a more deliberate, more intentional approach and waiting for everyone else to buy in, as opposed to just cramming it down their throats and expecting people to buy in because they're the only game in town. Sorry, there's no, in this world, the only game in town might as well just be no game in town, if that's how you're doing business. So let's look at the aspects and insights of all of this XFL and change and red flags. Aspects and insights on the leadership side of things, real simple. Leaders understand that there's just certain limits you can go to, certain limits, so certain boundaries you cannot cross. And at the end of the day, you have to allow people to grow, to mature, and move at their pace. Now, obviously, there's going to be some situations where they got to pick up the pace, but they need to be well informed and well advised that, hey, the pace needs to be picked up right from the beginning. You can't just spring it on them at the last minute. Oh, by the way, no, it's not like that. Employees, the aspects and insight on the employee side of things, the opposite. Be willing to change. Be willing to accept that there is change coming, but also listen to your gut and understand that those red flags are going to be there, and they're there for a reason. It's when you ignore them, that's where the trouble is. So if you're going to do something and you can do it, do it. If you're going to do something and you say you can do it, but you just don't deliver, well, then you know what? You get exactly what's coming to you. And I speak from experience because it's happened to me more than once. If I said I could do it and then I didn't deliver, or I delivered 5 minutes after the deadline, then guess what? I get what's coming to me, because you know what that means? That means I'm a responsible adult. That means I respect myself and I respect my leadership. And most of all, I respect my team. And doing that puts you in a better place. But you cannot be cramming stuff, and they cannot be cramming stuff down your throat, and you can't return it back to them. Either you turn off that switch and walk away, or you feel you have to answer someone and you feel obligated to answer, then be prepared to get what you get. It's just that simple. On the training side of things, can you train? Yes, you can. You can train. It's called situational awareness. Situational awareness. And yes, it can be trained. It can be trained. In the military, we were trained to be situationally aware. Head on a swivel. You probably have heard that. Keep your head on a swivel, 360 degrees. Look around you. Be aware of what's going on around you, behind you, above you, beneath you, to the right, to the left, across the street, on the rooftops, everywhere. In the middle of the road, what's behind that can, those kinds of things. You're situationally aware. And that's how you get out of things. That's how you survive. And the same applies in business life. The same applies in personal life, in relationships, everything. If it doesn't look good, it's probably not good. It's probably not good. I mean, if those, what do they call? What were those? It doesn't matter. Anyway, what does matter is be situationally aware. And yes, it can be trained. You can learn it. It can be done. Oops, we weren't talking about that one. That was yesterday. Where is it? Oh, there's that. Where's that one? There it is. The sector one. That's the one I was looking for. That was from last week. Okay. Sector leadership, sector employee, sector training, folks. It's something that's across the board. The more people realize where you're coming from, that you understand that, hey, you're not going to be accepting that the life you're living today is not the life you were living 30 years ago, 40 years ago. It's not. Because people grow up, people change. And if they can't respect that, then maybe, flipping the switch might just be what you need to do. Because you cannot go around changing other people. They have to want to change on their own. While you're changing, whether they like it or not, they minimize it, they talk bad about it, they laugh at it, they scorn, they ridicule you. But guess what? They're wasting all that time not growing. They're wasting all their time wishing things were the way they used to be. They spend all that time wasted. And when you get to where you want to be, because you didn't play into the games, the mind games, you didn't play into the whoa, whoa, pitiful me. You didn't play into, well, I'm so-and-so and I'm expected this. Bullshit. It's simple. You grow by yourself. Yeah, you might have a family, you might have responsibilities, but guess what? Your job is to grow. And while you're growing, they're growing. Your responsibilities are growing also. Your kids, your family, they're growing. Your friends, those that are willing to accept that, hey, life moves on. Because I guarantee you, those friends that have moved on, they're going to want that from you too. But it's when people start bogging you down and dragging you down and want it to be, hey, respect me because I'm so-and-so in this hierarchical structure. No, you don't demand respect. That's a red flag. People start demanding respect, when people start demanding answers, when people start playing passive-aggressive games. Those are red flags if you didn't know that. Plenty of them out there. Look them up. You're better than that. If you need to recognize them, by all means, practice and recognize them because, again, situational awareness. Folks, it's Monday. I'm tired, hungry. It's been a great day. It's been a great time sharing with you. I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad you're watching. Whoever's watching here live, I do appreciate you. I appreciate you very much. And if you're watching me post, I appreciate you taking the time to listen, to watch, and understand a little bit more about me. And in turn, I hope it helps you learn a little bit more about you. So don't forget to like, follow, subscribe wherever you're at, however you're watching. I appreciate you. Email me, follow me on Twitter at Dave Guerra. Subscribe, watch, and I thank you. Have a great day. Have a great rest of your evening. Have an even better Tuesday, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a good one.